It's a clash of titans. Anish Giri versus the creative powerhouse Alireza Firouzja in a blitz showdown. Buckle up, this one's going to be a wild ride. Giri opens with e4, and Firouzja meets him with the super solid Karo Khan. We get the Panov Botvinnik attack as pawns are traded in the center, setting the stage for an open, tactical battle. Black develops with purpose, the bishop flying to b4 to pin white's knight. After another central trade, both players are rapidly bringing their pieces into the game, preparing for the middle game fight. Development is completed as both kings find safety, castling to the king side. The rooks are connected, the armies are mobilized, and now the real strategic battle is about to begin. Giri makes the first move, planting his knight centrally on e4, challenging black's control. And Firouzja's response is the spectacular bishop to b7, a brilliant sacrifice inviting chaos and complications. He's ready for a fight! Giri accepts the challenge, trading on f6. He then pins the new knight with bishop to g5, but Firouzja kicks the bishop back and repositions his own knight to the powerful d5 square, keeping the pressure on. And now the knights start to dance. Both players maneuver their pieces, probing for weaknesses in a complex dance. The position is electric, with knights hopping all over the board, jockeying for key squares. A brief moment of quiet as white's queen drops back to d2 and black's knight repositions to e7, both sides preparing for the next phase of the battle, and Giri answers with a brilliancy of his own, knight to e5, a fantastic counter-sacrifice to disrupt black's coordination. What a game! The knights are exchanged, and the dust settles into a tense, balanced position. The fight now shifts to control of the key files and diagonals as both sides regroup for the endgame. Firouzja begins to build immense pressure, doubling his rooks on the d file. Giri defends carefully, but black's knight leaps to h4, adding another piece to the attack. Another one, knight to f5 from Firouzja. It's his second brilliant sacrifice of the game, tearing open white's defenses for his queen and rooks. Unbelievable creativity. Giri has to take the knight, but Firouzja's queen recaptures on f5 and becomes an absolute monster. Black doubles the rooks, and the pressure is becoming overwhelming. Firouzja's pressure is relentless. He methodically improves his position, doubles rooks on the c-file, and finally breaks through with his rook landing on the first rank at c1. With white's pieces tied down, Firouzja opens a second front. He pushes his b-pawn all the way to b4, creating a dangerous passed pawn and undermining white's entire queenside. The pawns are exchanged on b4, opening up the position and clearing the way for black's final decisive assault. Are you kidding me? Rook to c2? A third brilliant sacrifice from Alireza Firouzja. This deflects the defending rook and rips white's position to shreds. Simply sensational. Giri has no choice but to accept the sacrifice on c2. Black's other rook immediately recaptures, and the winning advantage is firmly in Firouzja's hands. But Giri is not going down without a fight. Rook to e2 is a fantastic defensive find, the only move to keep the game going. Here's the clever idea. If black's rook goes to c6, white's rook defends from e1. If the queen checks on c2, the rook simply returns to e2, holding everything together. But Firouzja has other plans. After a quick repositioning of his rook to c8, he simply shoves the passed pawn forward to b3. The threat is unstoppable, and here, under crushing pressure, Giri finally cracks. There was a way to hold on and fight. The much stronger try was bishop to d6. After rook to c2, queen to e3 holds the line, then bishop to c4, and after rook takes rook on c2, white is actually winning a rook. But in the game, Giri played rook to f2, and this is a fatal mistake that loses on the spot. And Firouzja pounces immediately with the crushing queen to b1. A great move, and the only one to secure the win. Here's the lethal threat. If queen to e3, rook to c1 is decisive. And if bishop to d6, rook to h1 check begins the mating attack. Giri is scrambling, but the position is lost. He had to find a very specific defense to stay in the game. The only try was queen to e3. After rook to c2, the rooks are exchanged, the pawn recaptures, and bishop to f4 keeps some small hope alive. Instead, he plays queen to b4, which just hastens the end. Even in a completely winning position, it's hard to be perfect. Firouzja is winning, but there was an even more clinical path. The absolute crusher was rook to c2. Rooks are traded, the pawn takes back, queen to b8 is check, and the king is forced away to h7. Back in the actual game, Firouzja plays rook to c1, which is still completely winning, just slightly less precise. White is lost, but this next move brings the curtain down immediately. There was still a way to resist, even if it was futile. The best defense was bishop to f4. After rook to h1 check, the king runs to g3. After queen to g6 check, the king escapes to h4, prolonging the game. But instead, Giri plays bishop to d6, a terminal blunder that walks right into a forced mate. And Firouzja does not miss it. Rook to h1 check, the perfect move initiating the forced mating sequence. The white king is forced out into the open, stepping to g3 right into the teeth of the attack. And now, the final blow. Queen to g6, check. A great move, and Giri knows exactly what's coming. The mate is unstoppable. The king is forced to f4, and queen to g5 is checkmate. And at this point, Anish Giri resigns. A spectacular victory for Alireza Firouzja, capped off by 3 brilliant sacrifices. Giri saw that checkmate was unavoidable. Even if the king runs to h4, queen to g5 is still checkmate.